Hello everyone, how y'all doing? Welcome to another video. So I was talking with the psykon of Mercury on Discord a couple days ago, and he was working on this project for an outreach thing that they are organizing in a couple of weeks, and he asked me to answer a few questions about my demo scene experience overall, to use them in a small video that he's gonna edit together. And he had like a list of suggestion of questions, and I thought the list was actually quite interesting as some sort of mini interview to talk a little bit more about my overall experience with the demo scene and how that works. So I think it's interesting to go through every single one of these questions, and they're like 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 questions overall, and just, you know, try to answer a few things. Come here, cat. So it's going to be a lengthy video, as you probably noticed from the time. Please jump. Okay. And I'm going to try to talk honestly about the different experiences that I had with the demo scene and try to answer as best as I can. Probably going to not be able to address all of the questions properly. But anyways, I recommend other people who are not camera shy and are active demo sceners to also try to answer these questions. I think it would be cool to be able to compare the answers that different people give. So people like Mibri and Frankie, who do video content about the demo scene regularly, I would really love if you would try to answer these questions as well in a video or a live stream, something like that. I think it would be cool to try to get going. Anyways, question number 1, was there a specific event or experience in which you decided that you wanted to make demos? For me, I started making demos after a friend of mine who already passed away, and he was a demo scener. At the time, we used to swap video games, and on some of the video games he sent me some demos, and I asked him what they were about, and I guess he did it on purpose. He wanted me to somehow know a bit more about that thing, and I ended up asking him how to do those kind of things and how to learn to do those kind of things. I knew a little bit how to code. I knew how to code BASIC, and I started learning to code Turbo Pascal when he was showing me these kind of things and telling me that it was very hard to do these things, to learn how to program these things, and it got me hooked. So I got more information, and that's how I got into the demo scene, more addicted. His nickname was Brain Power at the time. He was one of the most active Portuguese demo sceners back in 96, 97, 98, and yeah, he was one who got me addicted into the demo scene. Question number 2, can you talk about a workaround that you had to do because your original idea did not work out and which actually led to a whole new idea, feature, or workflow? This actually happens a lot. A lot of the times when I don't have any specific idea for a demo that I want to do, or for an intro that I want to do, I just try random effect. Most recently, what I've been trying to do, to give a current example, is I've been trying to implement optical illusions on the TIC-80. Optical illusions that are like known and static screens that seem to be moving. So I try to implement them on the TIC-80. Sometimes I don't manage to get all the math correct, or the limitations of TIC-80 in terms of pixels and colors don't really make it look as good as it can. The effect is not really illusion-y. It's not illusional enough. But I can always try to do some different stuff, try to animate it, try to do some color changes, things like that. And a lot of the size coding stuff that I've been doing for the TIC-80 have originated from those experiments, trying to do just re-implement optical illusions. I saw a guy on Twitter who was obsessed with optical illusions and like posting a new optical illusion every day, images of optical illusions. So I started bookmarking some of those things, and whenever I want to code something new on the TIC-80 and I have no clue what I want to code, I pick one of those randomly, I try to implement it. I most often fail, or halfway through trying to implement it, I start experimenting with adding some motion and color changes to it, and eventually I end up in a totally different effect. And I think that's a very cool way to just, you know, experiment and try to find new stuff. I think that works really well. If you're like, if you don't know, if you don't have a vision of what you want to do, it's nice to try to do that and just experiment a little bit. Question number 3, can you talk about something that you worked on out of frustration or spite that led to demos or intros that you are proud of? A lot of my entries were made as sort of as a catharsis for stuff that I was feeling or going through at the time. I come from a school of demo making where we are not so focused on the technical achievement, or at least I'm not as focused on the technical achievement, but more what you can do with it to express yourself. So I started experimenting with expressing myself in abstract form and trying to express all sort of things that were for me deeply personal. I was depression, suicidal thoughts, and things like that. Hating the system and being angry at stuff, being sad, extremely melancholic, all those kind of different ranges of emotions. I wanted to try to express them into a visual medium or audiovisual medium where you could like enter and be immersed in it and then feel what the original person was trying to explain to you. So that was the ethos behind the whole minimal artifact project that I did. A lot of people were mocking more artistic ambient kind of demos. This was back in 2002 when Chimera was released by Halcyon. A lot of people mocked Halcyon, that they were like just doing pretentious art, but I really saw the potential of what Halcyon was trying to do. Like, despite being minimal, creating an environment, an ambient where you can immerse yourself into and feel the same way that the original person wanted you to feel. Instead of being something to entertain you, it would be something to get you to understand the state of mood or that the person would be. So I experimented a lot of that. I think the one that I was most proud of was Electroglide in Black. At the time, I had just broken up with my girlfriend at the time, and I was extremely depressed and kind of suicidal as well. I had this very melancholic, dark, introspective track that I had done, and I tried to do some visuals for it, and they were really working well. But having to rewatch the demo and tweak things a little bit more, trying to make everything in place, it just seemed like that I was circling the loop more and more, going deeper into the depression well. So I was happy when I finally finished the production and just put it out, even if a lot of people didn't like it. There were some people who really did like it and understand the beauty and meaning behind it, and that made me very happy that people somehow managed to connect, even if it's like an abstract thing trying to convey deeper emotions that might not be as explicit. The soundtrack for Electroglide in Black was eventually reused by Navis of Andromeda Software Design in Anoxia Redux, I think it's called. Something Redux, which was a remix of one of their most famous demos, but with a very glitchy ambient, glitchy visuals that matched the sound that I had originally used in Electroglide in Black. And they got a lot of shit as well for doing that, but it was a really cool demo, and I think it was a really good take and a nice way to show people that you don't need to do mega demos all the time to win assembly. You can also experiment and try to, do something else with all the content that you're generating to convey more emotions or stories, not just to win compos. So yeah, that was cool. Question number 4, can you talk about some tech or content that you did out of competition, something that you only did because you wanted to be better in one specific area than someone else? I mean, a lot of music making for me was about that. I didn't really send it to any competition. I was just trying to understand how music works and how music production works. But if I had to pick something that I'm somehow proud and that I did outside of a competition in the demo scene thing, would be Sunray Disc Mag or Review Mag. Spent a lot of days working on that, talking with people to get it organized, reviewing every single thing, and it was a very ambitious project. I tried to review everything that happened in the year in the demo scene and put it into a Disc Mag form. And took a lot of work, but it was done, and I was happy with the result, even though I didn't get much support for a final version, which was my original idea. Like, I show that we can do a lot of these things, and then we have like a few months and people would send in their own reviews if they disagreed with my views, and then we would join it all into a final version of Sunray, which not many people really submit anything, so that ended up not being a final version, and I ended up not doing it for the next year because not enough support. But I was happy with having gone through all the organization work of doing the thing and putting it out. I thought it was really, really cool. Can you talk about an experience in demo making where you felt like you just went into uncharted territory? What was it, and what was it like? Well, a lot of my demos were going into uncharted territory. I've been known for killing a few famous groups because of my stuff being too much experimental and releasing them under those labels. So yeah, I think my most experimental stuff when I got started and it wasn't very well looked upon is probably M and the follow-up MGR, the remix, which was even noisier than that. And Graerk was definitely very experimental and totally out of the box. I was experimenting with ambient that is not ambient music. I used to call it Ilbient, but then I realized that Ilbient actually stands for a specific subgenre of trip hop where you have some ambient beats, but they are kind of sick. And Ilbient in my case meant for ambient sound that was like a bit psychotic, schizophrenic in some way. So I was trying to explore that and had some experimental poetry to go along with it and some weird ideas from some effects that were all over the place. And I ended up collaborating with a programmer to do that stuff. It was one of the first things that we did in OpenGL. Wasn't prolific in OpenGL back then. So I was just taking the musician and direction role in that demo. Still was quite a mindfuck, and I'm not sure that many people saw it. I got released at Mecha Symposium, but it was disqualified, so it didn't get very famous. But I was happy with the way that we managed to explore the unexplored and make something interesting out of that. Is there a specific tech or content in a production or tool that you did which you only did in that way because you did not know the proper way to do it, but you're still happy how you did it? Well, a lot of my early code was just winging it and trying it and making it work because back when I started coding, we didn't have the internet. Or if we had, it wasn't like you couldn't go to a site like GitHub or Stack Overflow and ask a question. You had to find like specific code packs which gave you a code example. They didn't teach you or find a tutorial where they would explain. Like, and Discmags played a very important role in that. They explained how certain effects were made, and then you had to go and implement them. Not very often there were source code right there ready to work. And even if it was, it might not be for the language that you were using. In my case, I was using Turbo Pascal because I wasn't into C just yet in the beginning. And a lot of code that was example for was inline assembler, and I didn't understand assembler. So I had to experiment with a lot of stuff, and that's how you learn how to program things. You try the best you can, you fail. some of my earlier works, like painting plastics, was completely slow and optimized, fake 3D, just doing rotations with just wire frameworks. It's a bit sad to watch nowadays, but that's how you learn. I remember a particular case of a thing that I was trying to optimize for speed, and I instead of doing a for loop starting in 0 and ending in the maximum, I was trying to do it the other way around and complicating all my calculations, because I read somewhere that it would be optimized better, it would be faster. Don't ask me where, I don't remember anymore. And I learned a very important rule when I was showing it to a friend in the Palm, for him to help me debug some of the issues that I was having. And I showed it to him, and he was asking, why are you doing this in reverse? I just heard it's better. And he told me a very important rule: don't optimize anything that you can't measure. So if you can't measure that you're getting a benefit out of it, don't bother optimizing, because you can't tell. If you can't tell how it's actually beneficial, there's no point in it. So learn to trust the compiler and until you know otherwise, and measure everything that you can measure if you want to optimize things. So yeah, not particularly proud of those, but those were some of the wrong ways that I did things, and that I learned a bit from that. Next question. Can you talk about an experience in which a member of a group used the tool or feature in a completely unexpected way? How did it influence your production? I can't think of any idea in particular for any release that I had. I remember a very famous one, which was the story behind Cargo Cult, which is a Farbrausch demo that was released back in 2005 or something like that. And this was when doing ambient demos was kind of frowned upon, and Farbrausch did this thing, and we were a bit left puzzled if they are mocking the people who do ambient stuff, or if they actually liked it for real, because the titling of their demos always starts with FR something something, and this one was FR minus something something, which means there is a production made for fun, not to be taken seriously, usually, or just not as up to the standard quality of Farbrausch that they supposedly have or would have at the time. And from what I heard, it came from a failed terrain generator. Like, they were trying to do a terrain, it was looking weird, they found some bugs in it, but the bugs actually looked cool, so they made something out of that terrain generator, and that ended up being Cargo Cult, which I thought was cool. And I liked the demo, so extra points for that. Can you talk about the production that was realized because you and your group mates inspired each other? The best example I have of that is The Lost Religion of Light from Cosmopolsy and Minimal Artifact. I guess I can also talk about Your Song is Quiet Part 2 that I did with Elf of Cyberpunk's Unity. And yeah, both of these entries were back and forth, just swapping ideas. And in The Lost Religion of Light, they actually had a bunch of tracks that I hadn't used for anything yet, so they chose one, and they had some visuals, some 3D scenes and some 2D images that they thought would fit, and then I helped code some optimizations to the engine, and it was a bit of back and forth throughout, I think, a whole week that we worked on it. Just, you know, listening to the things, seeing if the visuals match the tempo of the flow of the whole thing. And yeah, that was very inspired back and forth by multiple people just bouncing back ideas. And I think it's one of the most interesting ways to work, because when you do things by yourself, you already know your strong points and your limitations. And that's the beauty of collaborating with someone else. Is, well, it has the downside that they question what you're doing, but it forces you to justify what you're doing in some way, which can be annoying, but at the same time can make you reflect on why you're doing what you're doing, and try to get the maximum out of it. Other people can also do something that you would never expect, which is better than whatever you could think of. So that's always a plus to have. So that's one of the reasons that I love collaborating with other people, either musically or with visuals. I like to see what other people can think out of the ideas that I had, and vice versa, and some ideas that I can give to whatever they are working on. Another question. Can you talk about a moment in which someone did something outside of his role, for example, a musician doing graphics or graphicians changing code and so on, which led to a production or tool that you are proud of? I'm not very stuck on a single thing. My first role was programming, but then I started getting involved into music production, and eventually I also started getting involved into drawing. I think a lot of it came from being in the group Tepalm, in the Planet of Letter Moments, because a lot of people in Tepalm were cross-disciplinary. Like they produced music, but they also coded, and a lot of musics they just did everything in reverse. A good example is between Feather and Croaker. They used to do. Croaker would do the music and Feather would do the graphics, and then they ended up doing it the other way around. And Croaker also used to code. He doesn't code as much nowadays, and now Feather is in control of the code, so they can reverse the roles completely, and it makes things more fun. For my own productions, I don't have a lot of examples of that. There were a lot of entries that I participated on purely as a musician, where they just took my music and did something out of it. I'm not a very good coder as well, so that's also one of the reasons that I'm happy to pass that torch to someone else. If I can focus on a specific problem, I can try to solve, but I don't like to build engines and research latest cutting edge graphic stuff. So I mostly hack together stuff or debug stuff. That's my strong suit in terms of programming. Yeah. Next question. How did the experience you had as a part of a demo group change? How do you view yourself and your work? Well, it changed a lot. It depends also in which demo group. I've been in the demo scene for 20-something years, and I've been part of different demo groups at different stages of my life, which also reflected how I was at that time and how I changed. So the experiences that I had running Label, which was my first demo group, it's totally different from when I started running Tepalm, when I started running Evolve, when I was member of Tepalm, when I was member of Caladox, and eventually got kicked from Caladox. All the stuff that I did under Minimal Artifact is also completely different from those. And to circle back into how you view yourself and your work, my work definitely changed throughout the years, and it's still changing. It changes all the time, not just through influences of other people in the group, but also as you mature and as you see your own work and how you can do better or different, you end up trying to change stuff in you and analyzing what you do. So it's normal that you change along the way. You start to find your own vein or character, language of doing your art, and then at some point it gets a bit boring and you try to put a spin on it, try to make it somehow different. But also things change in your life. With me, I had issues with depression that influenced a lot the way that I was doing my works and the kind of messages that I was putting into my works. Yeah, sometimes you just circle back, or it goes in circles, or you just try to experiment different stuff. So yeah, it all the things that you do in life change how you view yourself and your work. So it's not specifically about demo groups, I would say, although they definitely label a part of your life, and pun intended, because the first demo group that I had was called Label. It was just me and Iceball, and sending some emails to random people. I think in Greece and in Poland and in Finland, and just try to get some sort of collaboration, and people try to help me to do my first demos, and it was completely different kind of experience than all the stuff that I do nowadays. Anyways, the final question that we have: is there a part of your life that you cherish, that you can trace back to an experience in the scene of your group? Well, a lot of them. I've been in the demo scene since '97, and I'm 40 years old now, so I've been a demo scener for over half of my life. So a lot of experiences that I had throughout the demo scene, I still cherish. Traveling a lot was one of them. When I did the whole set of interrails with Melvin, did car trip with Genio and other Portuguese people, and Gargai and other people that joined us halfway through the trip. Those experiences stay in your memory. The BG party, getting completely wasted, that was one of the worst hangovers that I had at BG party. It wasn't a very productive demo party, but it was a lot of fun. So small things like that leave a good memory. And also hanging around in Belgrade was very cool, with the Cosmoplovsy people. Finding people that you can hang around with, share your vision of how stuff should be and could be. It's was a very unique experience for me, because I never had someone like that in Portugal that I could hang out with and share my vision. I had a lot of friends in the demo scene in Portugal that I would hang out with sometimes, but it was always like a challenging sort of vision. I would have to be explaining why I do things like that, and it would be explaining to me that that's not the right way to do things, and it ends up not being very productive. It can be interesting sometimes, but it can also be a bit draining, and it's like they're pushing you away from your vision. So it was cool to find people who share the vision and just ride along that vision instead of trying to guide you astray from what you're trying to accomplish. So that was very cool, and I hold that in high regard. But also, I think it's worth mentioning that the demo scene is not always sunshine and flowers. I had issues with depression. I had dramas happening with other demo sceners as well. Getting kicked out of Caladox, girlfriend related to the demo scene also made a bit of the party experiences weird, or ex-girlfriend, I should say. And so there's a lot of bad things that go along with the demo scene, but overall, I think the creative side of the demo scene helped me a lot to do the catharsis of the stuff that I had bad in my life, and find like a creative outlet for those things, and like a reason to keep going and try to do things to better yourself, to experiment, to meet new people. And the social side is also very interesting. It's always welcoming to go back to a demo party, see a lot of people that you met a few years ago, have some beers, have some interesting discussions. I also cherish that a lot, even if I'm in Portugal. It's not so easy to go to a lot of demo parties. Even nowadays in COVID days, what I want to say, since I've been in Portugal, it was very often a lot easier to just see the live stream of what was happening outside, even though a lot of parties did not have live streams of their events. So I'm kind of used to the live stream experience. So now with the COVID days, I didn't suffer as much from the I want to be at the party but I can't, so I'm only seeing it on my couch. I already had that experience, and for me it's still fun. You still connect with people. You still know the people on the other side of the chat room, or at least I know most of them. And when they say a joke, I understand. I can imagine them in my head saying that joke. I see how they speak. I see their mannerisms. I can imagine all those things. And for me, it's a lot of fun to just hang out, and that helped a lot with the COVID age. I know a lot of people prefer physical parties. That's fine, but I would also prefer more physical parties, but unfortunately I'm a bit limited from living in Portugal and not in the middle of Europe. So I have to content myself with an Initial Demo party and the occasional 1 or 2 international parties per year, which was my regiment before COVID, and will probably return to it after COVID. So yeah, cherish a lot of parts of my life regarding the demo scene. So yeah, those are the questions that I had to try to answer. Hope psykon can use some of these answers for the snippets that it's trying to do. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it was interesting. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, feel free to post them below. I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. It would be cool to see other demo sceners try to answer these questions and see the different perspectives, because I have a very unique one. You know, I'm PS from Portugal, and I had a depression in the beginning of 2000s, and I'm more of a abstract art sort of demo making enthusiasts, and I'm sure other demo sceners, a lot of other demo sceners, have totally different experience from mine, and it would be really cool to hear about it. And yeah, so encourage anyone who is a demo scener, is not afraid to talk to a camera, to, you know, try to read these questions and try to answer them as best to the best of your ability. So yeah, see you next video. Bye bye everyone, take care.